Hyundai's compact Tucson was about 10 years behind when it finally came to American showrooms back in 2005. Now remember, this is a compact crossover that competes head-on with cars like the Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V. Now since then, the compact segment has completely changed with so many new competitors out there and Americans now choosing this vehicle as their family car of choice as opposed to mid-size family sedans. So today I'm out here in Tucson, Arizona to drive the all-new 2022 Tucson, and as you can see, it is a complete overhaul versus the previous generation. Hyundai started with a completely new platform. They gave it its latest design language with these interesting geometric shapes that especially show out in the side profile, and Hyundai is offering several new powertrain options, including 2 new electrified options and a plug-in hybrid version that will be able to do around 32 miles of all-electric range from the battery pack. So with its bold new design, new electrified powertrain options, and a completely new look on the outside and inside, has Hyundai made enough changes to the new Tucson to allow this thing to overtake its Japanese rivals and become the sales leader? That's what we're here to find out. So with so many different choices in the compact SUV segment, Hyundai had to do something bold when it comes to the design of this all-new 4th generation model. And as you can see from the front fascia, they definitely achieved that with this all-new generation model. The front end, of course, we have Hyundai's Cascade waterfall style grille. However, there's this new design element here that Hyundai just started introducing, of course, on the Sonata and on the Elantra. It's got these parametric jewels for the LED daytime running light. As you can see, when the daytime running lights are off, it looks like it's part of the entire grille as a whole, but when they switch on, you can see the LED running lights kind of turn on and they magically kind of appear out of nowhere. It's definitely a distinctive look. You can see most models will come with their LED low and high beams. This one here has kind of an upgraded LED with a projector style. You also have LED turn signals, and this limited model that I'm showing you is actually the hybrid version. You can't really tell this is a hybrid. Even the Hyundai badge in the grille is kind of blacked out. A lot of other manufacturers are doing kind of a blue accented theme when you have a hybrid, but as you can see, not Hyundai. You can see down here there's some nice black chrome trim, and in this kind of premium white paint exterior, it definitely looks good along with the black chrome accents that you find in the grille. Now, as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, this is based off of an all-new platform. It shares a platform, of course, with the all-new generation Elantra, and the new Tucson, as you can also see, is much larger, much wider, much lower, and much taller versus the previous generation. The old one was a little bit of a tweener. It was a little bit too small to be considered a compact car. It was kind of on the very tippy-toe end. This is now much larger. Hyundai stretched the overall length by around 6 inches at 182.5 inches long. Its wheelbase has also been lengthened by about 3 inches at 105.9 inches long. This is a little bit longer now versus a Honda CR-V and a Toyota RAV4. That's going to give this car significantly more space in the back seat, of course, and in the cargo area. Now, in terms of ground clearance, this is an SUV. The front drive models will have around 7.3 inches. All-wheel drive will add around an inch more. So this one here has 8.3 inches. You can get it with their company's H-Track all-wheel drive system. The hybrid models come standard with that. It is a pretty good all-wheel drive system. And with a little bit of effort, you can see the H-Track all-wheel drive system does a pretty good job of shuffling the power to the wheels that need the most grip. In terms of the wheel options, Hyundai will offer a choice of 3 different sizes, starting at the base end with a 17 going up to an 18. The limited versions, like this hybrid, have a 19-inch wheel wrapped in 235 with 55 series tires. These are a pretty good sized tire. It's a little bit wider versus some of the wheels that you might find in some of its competitors by around 10 millimeters. I also like the way the wheels look. It's a nice two-tone design with that kind of stylized shape. It's very in. It goes well with the overall fenders and the width of this SUV. Now, in typical other SUV fashion, you have this cladding here, although Hyundai didn't go overboard like some competitors where it doesn't look like a cancer that's kind of overtaking the vehicle. I also like these very low profile roof rails that you can get. This particular one here has a pano sunroof that is available, of course, if you guys go for the higher end trims. And you can see a lot of geometric shapes here. This is part of their new design language. It's a very distinctive car from every angle, including the front, the side profile, and then over at the rear, you can see equally distinctive. I very much love the new design for these full width LED taillights. I do want to point out, however, the turn signal and the reverse light is not LED, just the brake lights and the tail lights. They're actually down here in the lower part of the bumper. One interesting design element is the Hyundai emblem back here. Instead of like a raised out emblem, which is chrome that it's, you know, stuck on, this is actually kind of like a little glass piece where the emblem lives behind this little plastic panel back here, which is interesting, although I'm surprised it's not kind of lined in like a blue lining to show that this is a hybrid. In fact, your only indication that this is a hybrid is right here. It says hybrid right here, which kind of looks like an afterthought to me. I don't like the way the hybrid badge looks. Obviously, we have the H-Track badge to show this is all-wheel drive, which is standard. The gas models will not have that little hybrid badge back there. And then you can see the hybrid doesn't include any visible exhaust tips. Hyundai is offering an N-Line Sport Appearance package on the ICE models that does give you a twin outlet exhaust, which is with a single pipe. Now, looking at the cargo area, because this is much larger, Hyundai was able to improve that. Now, opening it up, obviously you have a hands-free power liftgate on some of the higher end models like this one. And when you open up the cargo area, Hyundai says you can get a maximum of 41 cubic feet of space. That's of course with the seats kind of pushed forward a little bit and the load floor in its lowest position. If you have some of those factors adjusted, Hyundai says you get around 38 cubic feet of space. If you fold down everything, which Hyundai allows you to do by pulling on this little lever back here where you have these remote releases, Hyundai says you get a maximum of 80 cubic feet or around 75 cubic feet of space if you don't factor in some of the space that's kind of in the floorboard of the vehicle. 80 cubic feet is pretty big. This is around 5 cubic feet more than most of its competitors, as much as 10 to 15 more than some rivals which have significantly less space. The one thing I do want to mention, massive underfloor storage underneath here, which Hyundai again accounts to giving you more space if you put the load floor in its lower setting. So let's move on to the inside of the all-new Tucson, because outside clearly Hyundai has made a plethora of changes, but this is where a lot of car buyers are going to be spending their time. So let's go over the new interior in all of its glory. Now, first of all, I want to mention that I'm sitting in a limited trim with the lighter option. This is the gray leather. Hyundai also offers a black leather. I really like the lighter color. This is of course going to give you a more brighter, open and airy feel. The limited comes standard with these leather buckets, which are heated and cooled. They adjust in 8 different ways. So I have an 8-way power on the driver's side and on the passenger side, and I also have a 2-way lumbar, 2-person memory, and the seats are heated and cooled. And the leather, I also find them to be very plush. Now, looking at the dashboard, you can see if you guys have spent some time in the new Elantra or the Sonata, the design will feel a little familiar, but obviously the Tucson has its own unique look. I especially like the two-tone look. The steering wheel, you can see 2-spoke wheels are becoming very much the thing. Hyundai, again, is doing that full force here in the new Tucson. When I shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, so it gives you that very impression of quality. And you can see the key fob. This is the current Hyundai key fob. It does have their smart park feature where I can pull the vehicle forward and back in its parking spot by using the fob, which is pretty handy, but no, this vehicle will not extricate itself out of a parking lot and come to you from across town. Now, with the proximity key, just the button to fire up the engine is over here. And you can see when you turn on the engine or when you turn on the car, it just says ready to drive. This is the hybrid model, so there's no engine startup. The base engine obviously will have that, but not the hybrid version. But here's the seats. You can see, I think the seats look really nice. I like the way they're nicely bolstered. The leather, as I mentioned earlier, is plush. The heated and cooled seat function works really great. I was using the cooled seat out here in Arizona. There's this really interesting silver piece here on the actual seat back, although it would have been nice if Hyundai put like embroidered, maybe like Tucson or limited in the actual seat back, would have given it a more upscale feel. And you can see in terms of the dashboard, it's a really interesting look with these, vents that kind of are continuous. You can see there's an air vent there that kind of actually extends into the actual center part of the dash. It's almost like the appearance of one giant air vent, which definitely is unique in terms of the materials. You can see there's a soft touch injection molded plastic here and here, which is nice. The glove compartment door, however, is not a soft touch plastic. The soft touch plastic is extended over here into the door panels. This is included, I believe, on the SEL convenience trims and up. There's also this really interesting fabric material here that's on the door panel and on the dash. This is even soft touch padded right here, which is nice. Aluminum or silver painted door handles here. The front windows are one touch automatic up and down, not the rear, but the window controls have a nice tactile, high quality feel. There's some Tiano black plastic, of course, with some more leather stitching and a nice little door cubby over here, a few buttons over here to turn off your stability control and open up the trunk area. Now the steering wheel, you can see Hyundai has been doing the 2-spoke wheel, and I really like the way this wheel looks and feels. It's got very nice high quality leather. It's got paddle shifters, even though we have the hybrid version, and the wheel itself is a tilt and telescoping design, which definitely lets you get pretty comfortable in this vehicle. The horn sounds pretty good. I'd probably rate the horn as a average sounding horn. It definitely doesn't sound puny like some competitors that I've tested. And you can see this digital display is 10.25 inches. It is included when you guys go for the SEL trims and up. This 10.25 inch display here, however, is only available on the limited trim. All the other Tucsons will have an 8-inch touchscreen that's part of the Hyundai Telematics Blue Link. If you get the 8-inch screen, you'll get wireless Android Auto and CarPlay. This has a wired system because on the larger screen, Hyundai makes you actually have to plug your phone in. You can expand the wireless CarPlay to expand to take up the whole screen if you'd like to do that. I actually have it right now on the split screen, which I actually kind of prefer. You can see the screen itself. It's very snappy. It's responsive. Going back to the Hyundai display, you can see that's what it looks like when it takes up the entire screen. Let's go to the map display here. Again, you can get rid of the split screen. Hyundai has been working hard to kind of improve their map quality, which is fine. This touch response, however, is really good. There's 64 different levels or colors of interior ambient lighting in here that you get in the limited model. You can obviously change that by going to the setup here, going to vehicle. So many different ways that you can customize things. This is all very, very high tech. It's very easy to use, and Hyundai should be very proud. This is one of the best mainstream infotainment systems that you can find in the business. When I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see Hyundai does offer a full top-down 360 camera. It is included on this trim. The resolution is great. The graphics are great. You have parking sensors front and rear. So if you hit something, you're really just a terrible driver. You probably shouldn't be driving because that is, again, on you. Now over here, you can see touch-sensitive buttons here for the dual-zone climate control. No radio knob or anything like that. No tuning knob. Just a volume touch-sensitive button. Some of you may not prefer that. I really was looking for a volume knob, so I kind of wish that Hyundai did include a volume knob. You can also, of course, control the volume from the control on the steering wheel here. As I mentioned, there's paddle shifters. Your driver assistance stuff is, of course, here on the wheel. There's a nice big storage cubby over here with wireless phone charging, which is nice. You have 2 USB ports, although Hyundai doesn't use a USB-C. They just use an older USB-A. There are some nice little storage areas here in the center console or the center stack, which is good. There's a push button transmission selector, and then you can see heated and cooled seat buttons over here, a heated wheel button. Your parking camera button, of course, is right there. And there's the passenger side one. There's a lock switch here for the 4-wheel drive system. And if you guys want to change your drive modes, you can see there's a toggle here, which will cycle between snow, sport, smart, and eco. And depending on the mode, you can also customize when you want it to show attack. And you can see it looks pretty good. I really like the way this looks. You can also, change the way that looks when you go into the settings display. There's an electronic parking brake here, cup holders, and then if you open this up, you can see pretty deep storage area. Lots of places where you can store things in this vehicle. Looking at the glove compartment, you can see it's a bin-style glove compartment. It is damped but not lined with felt. It's a pretty good size. And then when you guys go for this upper trim, you can see Hyundai throws in this massive panoramic sunroof, which lets in a ton of light. There's a nice woven material here on the headliner, and you can see there's plenty of LED lighting in the cabin. So overall, lots of premium tech features in this car. It feels roomy and spacious. It feels airy. You have a very good view. The one tech feature that I'm noticing this car is missing is probably a heads-up display. Hyundai does not offer the heads-up display on the new Tucson. Now, a lot of customers were complaining about the old Tucson that had somewhat of a cramped rear seat area. So as you can see, for the new one, Hyundai has definitely rectified that by giving us a back seat that has probably the largest amount of legroom that you'll find in the compact segment. But getting back here, you can see at 5'7", headroom was plentiful for me. I didn't even have to worry about bumping my head. And once you're back here, there really is a crap ton of space. Hyundai says you get around 41 inches of legroom back here. 41 inches of legroom makes this about 4 inches more spacious versus something like a CR-V and a RAV4. Surprised the seats aren't flat back here completely, but there is just a ton of space. So if you want a compact SUV with mid-size room, you're gonna wanna take a look at this. This may have more room than Hyundai's own Santa Fe. Shutting the door, you can see it has the same solid sounding thunk. Hyundai did downgrade the materials back here. There's not soft touch injection molded plastic, but you have more of that fabric. There's some leather stitching here. There is a 2-level heated rear seats on this trim, which is nice. The window switches still have that high quality tactile feel. The seat back itself, you can see it actually folds down, and it also offers a recline function. Very nice high quality leather. You have a nice armrest here that folds down, gives you 2 cup holders, which is good. And then over here, you can see Hyundai did include rear seat air vents and 2 USB-A type ports, which is nice. Now, of course, that panoramic roof looks great in the front, but here in the back, it also kind of lets in a lot more light. There is a big bar here that kind of cuts through, but overall, the back seat is massive. So if you're looking for a compact crossover with mid-size space in the back seat, this is the one that you're gonna wanna put at the very top of your list. Now, part of Hyundai's master plan to increase sales volume for the new Tucson is by offering more choices for buyers. So underneath the hood, Hyundai is now offering a choice of 3 different powertrain options. I only have 2 today to show you because the plug-in hybrid version is going to be coming later this summer. Now, starting at the base end here, this is the company's updated 2.5-liter SmartStream gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder. It's a naturally aspirated engine. It's slightly larger versus the previous model, which had a 2.4-liter engine. Remember, the base engine as well was a 2-liter. Now the base engine is a 2.5-liter. It makes around 16% more horsepower and 19% more torque versus the old motor. At 187 horsepower and 176 pound-feet of torque, this is going to be sufficient for most buyers out there. This is very comparable, of course, to a Subaru Forester, a Toyota RAV4, and a Honda CR-V and a Nissan Rogue. And all goes out through a one-choice 8-speed conventional automatic transmission. And Hyundai, of course, offers your choice between either front or all-wheel drive. This one here that I'm showing you is all-wheel drive. Fuel economy has been improved. This one is rated at 23 in the city, 29 in the highway. Not great MPG figures, but an improvement over the previous generation. You can also tow a maximum of 2,000 pounds with this one here. Now, follow me over to the white one. This is the one that I think is the more interesting option. And if you can swing the extra $1,200, which isn't much, you want to go for this model. It's a 1.6-liter turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder. That's right, the hybrid gives you a turbo in addition to an electric motor that also adds more horsepower. You get a total of 226 ponies combined. The gas engine on its own makes 180 horsepower, and torque is 195 pound-feet of torque. Hyundai does not quote the torque figures when you add in the electric motor to the gas engine, so all we have is the 195, but still, 226 horsepower makes this more powerful than the RAV4 hybrid and the CR-V hybrid. Now, all-wheel drive is what's going to be standard on the hybrid model, and Hyundai says their H-Track system is a conventional all-wheel drive system where it offers a direct connection between the front and rear axles via a drive shaft. It's very different versus what you find in the RAV4, which just has a separate electric motor. This, of course, has a physical connection. It's similar to a CR-V. The hybrids all use a 6-speed automatic transmission, so it's quite different versus the CVT and the Honda and the Toyota. And fuel economy is also pretty good. If you guys go for the hybrid blue version, which is the most eco-minded model, that'll get 38 mpg combined. This one here gets one less, 37 mpg combined. You'll still tow a maximum of 2,000 pounds. And the new Tucson, despite being so much larger, isn't really that heavy compared to cars like maybe like a Volkswagen Tiguan. As this one sits, it weighs in around 3,700 pounds. The gas engine version is around 100 pounds less. Now, I mentioned a plug-in hybrid earlier. That's going to be coming later this summer. That'll basically get this powertrain, but with a stronger electric motor to make 261 horsepower. It runs through a 13.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and Hyundai says that one will offer as much as 32 miles of range and qualify for a $6,500 tax credit when it goes on sale later this summer. So most owners probably won't do this to their Tucson, but we're out here in Arizona, and I wanted to test out the 8.3 inches of ground clearance. This gets over that little embankment pretty well. Doesn't even scrape underneath, although if you guys are planning to do some serious off-roading, you might want to think about adding skid plates and maybe putting some better tires on this thing. First, getting behind the wheel of the all-new 2022 Tucson, I'm going to start off with the hybrid version because I personally think this is the one that's going to be the sweet spot for most buyers. I mean, it has an almost 230 horsepower. This has more horsepower versus a comparable RAV4 hybrid and a CR-V hybrid, and it also gets 37 miles to the gallon combined. So those are very impressive numbers. And let me first start off by saying the new Tucson is a bold new design versus the previous generation. It was so forgettable. And now, I mean, I'm driving here in Tucson, Arizona. I've got one behind me. My camera guy, Rob, is driving the silver one behind me, and it's just a seriously attractive looking SUV. I'm just shocked at how good this thing is out on the road. It's got quite some road presence, and if you guys are wondering how does it drive as like a family crossover, it drives magnificently, yes. I can't speak today. Visibility, as you can see, is excellent. I can see out of the front end very well. The hood is nice and low, big side mirrors. Hyundai Safety Sense stuff is mostly standard, but if you want adaptive cruise control, you need to go for the 1-up trim level, SEL and up. And it gives you a lot for the money, along with a bold design, you know, the typical Hyundai strengths with a strong warranty, killer value, lots of tech. But the hybrid model here, Hyundai does not have any performance figures yet, but from my seat of the pants feel, it feels like around a low 7-second range, 0 to 60. The base 2.5 liter, I haven't driven it yet. I will hop into it later in this video and we'll see how that one compares. That only offers up 187 horsepower. So there's a pretty big jump by going with the hybrid model, and there's a pretty big jump in fuel economy. Now, just cruising down the road here, I'm noticing that the ride is very, very refined. It's really comfortable in here. It's also very quiet in here. There is very little wind and road noise. It's actually quieter than my 2021 Toyota RAV4, which again, direct competitor to this new Tucson. This is one of the quietest that I've driven in the segment. So Hyundai continues to push the envelope and raise the bar here compared to the previous generation, which kind of felt like it was on the smaller end of a compact. This is now on the larger end of a compact. It definitely has good road presence. It has a comfortable feel. It feels a lot more premium, and that's where Hyundai is really going with their next generation of vehicles. Super premium feeling, great tech, amazing warranty. And the seats in this one here, this one that I'm driving is a limited model. Really comfortable plush seats. They're heated and cooled, 8-way power adjustable, 2-person memory, which is great. There's a lot of tech in here that will surprise a lot of people into thinking you don't even need to go with a luxury brand. Even if I signal left or right, you can see I've got the blind view cameras. That is a piece of tech that you don't typically find in this segment of vehicle. And there's also plenty of passing power with this vehicle. I can kind of just squirt over to the left and right, put my foot down. The one thing that's interesting about the hybrid is it has a 6-speed conventional automatic, not a CVT. That's probably something that a lot of enthusiasts can rejoice about. The 6-speed auto has been obviously tuned and programmed to handle the power of this engine in the best possible way. It's definitely well matched to the hybrid's powertrain, but I also think that it kind of contributes to slightly lower fuel economy versus if it was a CVT, and slightly slower acceleration. I mean, I have it in its sports setting right now. You can also cycle between a smart, snow, and an eco mode, and the digital display here comes standard on the 1-up trim and higher, so the SEL and higher. And that really gives the premium vibe. But I think that if it was a CVT, this car would probably be a little bit quicker, and it would also get slightly better gas mileage. But Hyundai probably chooses to use a 6-speed auto to appease the enthusiast, because CVTs aren't great when you're looking for full throttle acceleration, but they are good for efficiency. Now, for example, I'll put my foot down here. It's a little bit sluggish to respond there and drop down a couple of gears, but once it does, you can feel the turbo engine. The turbo kicks in, so it's very quick in that regard. It's a lot quieter. The engine's not quite as noisy when it is running. It's actually a very smooth engine that doesn't make any much in terms of noise, which is good, because you don't want a vehicle like this to be screaming, making all kinds of noise. It's just not something that I think would be good for a lot of buyers. They kind of attribute that to a cheap car when it's noisy. You don't want it to be noisy. That's something that makes people think that you bought something that feels a little bit unfinished and just unrefined. Now in sport mode here, I am noticing it's kind of rev matching on my downshifts a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and try to brake torque it a tad and see how this thing performs. The transmission will short shift the engine at around 5,500 RPM. You can see my camera guy in the gas model is just left in the dust. This is so much quicker than the gas-only version. So if you can swing the extra money for the hybrid, do it, because you're gonna make that up in performance and make that up in fuel savings. This is a lot faster than the gas model. That is insane. Now in terms of real-world gas mileage, I'm at a short media drive here, and right now the trip computer is showing 29 mpg. That's with me kind of driving a little bit harder. I've been wanting to show you guys how it performs. Without even trying, this thing did around 35 miles to the gallon, and it got closer to 40 in stop and go, which is pretty amazing. So in case you're wondering, should you go for the hybrid model? Is it worth the extra cost? Well, my camera guy, Rob, is over there in the gas model, and we're gonna see if I can get past him in this little stoplight race. Left in the dust. Wow, that is a huge difference. Definitely go for the hybrid version, and it gets me super excited to drive the plug-in hybrid version of this car, because it offers like another 40 more horsepower than this from a stronger electric motor and 32 miles of all-electric range. That's not going to be available until later this summer, but the hybrid, definitely the one to go for. in this car. Loser. But anyways, let's talk about the rest of the driving dynamics here. I'll go back into the smart mode here and we'll drive more economically how most people are going to drive in this type of vehicle. The driver assistance tech in a lot of modern Hyundais is excellent. The lane keep assist, as you can see, keeps me perfectly centered in the lane without even having to turn on the adaptive cruise control. It has their highway driving assist, so it'll lane keep and it'll follow the car to a full stop in front of you in stop and go traffic, which is excellent. Like right now, I can keep my hands off the wheel. The car is perfectly steering and keeping me in the lane, much better than what Toyota and Honda are putting in their systems, even though theirs is standard. Hyundai gives you automatic emergency braking assist is standard and lane departure alert is standard. Adaptive cruise is optional, but you do get blind spot monitoring. You get their blind view, side view cameras, which is amazing. I mean, look, even right now, I haven't touched the wheel really. And let's see if it follows it around this curve right here as we approach this gentle curve. Now it's telling me to keep my hands on the wheel. And you can see the car is steering me in the lane and keeping me pretty well centered. So it's a very good technology. When you combine it with the rest of this car, which is just really well rounded, and it finally has the room that Tucsons have never really had in the past, and I'm blown away. This is one amazingly strong valued car that looks fantastic, that offers a lot for a lot of SUV buyers today. And really, you'd be foolish to not want to put this at the very top of your list, because Hyundai continues to kill it, and it gets me super curious to see what the next generation, of course, of its competitors are going to do. And also don't forget about the Kia. The Kia Sorento or the Sportage is one that should be all new in the next couple of years. So now we've switched over to the gas-only version, and just like when I showed you guys in the little stoplight drag race, this model here with only 187 horsepower is definitely a lot more sluggish versus the hybrid version. I mean, the horsepower deficit here is like 40 horsepower compared to the hybrid. We also have a 8-speed auto, so you have 2 extra gears here. And even though this does feel considerably slower, I am noticing the 8-speed in this car is a lot more responsive than the 6-speed. The 6-speed just had a tendency to not want to give up its higher gears at times, but when it did shift, the 1.6 turbo in that car really just kind of, overtook any kind of deficit that the transmission had with the extra power the engine had. I mean, this 2.5 is a new engine this year. It's a little bit larger than the previous generation. It has roughly 16% more horsepower and 19% more torque. And while the engine itself is perfectly fine and capable for a base engine, this is pretty comparable to a RAV4 with the base engine, to a Nissan Rogue, of course, with its 2.5 liter, to a Subaru Forester. It is pretty underpowered for, for someone like myself, like an enthusiast, but for probably 80 to 90% of buyers, they're gonna get in this and they're just gonna think it drives perfectly fine. Thankfully, the strengths of the hybrid are also kind of carried over into this car. It drives really nice. The ride quality is good. It's pretty quiet in here. The driver assistance tech is pretty solid. I like the gray leather seats that this one has. The gray leather seats definitely make the cabin feel a lot more upscale, and it also kind of lightens up the environment, which is nice. And they're also equally as comfortable. So really, it just comes down to, if you can spend the additional money on the hybrid, get the hybrid. Now, I do want to mention the fuel economy difference between the hybrid and this model. This one that we're driving is a limited with all-wheel drive. It's rated to get 24 in the city, 29 on the highway. Those numbers are average. Hyundai in the past has always been slightly average with their fuel economy, slightly below average now. They're just average. In the same kind of drive loop, the hybrid or the gas version is showing 21 mpg in that mixed driving. That is around 10 mpg less than what you're going to get in the hybrid version. And you can see right there, my gosh, trying to get up this hill, it is so slow waiting for the engine to rev. There are paddles, of course, which you're going to be using. But yeah, the engine just, it really feels lethargic here. And we are at slight elevation, I believe, up in this area, but man, that is really slow. So I'll have to retest the gas-only version when I'm back in my home area where I'm for sure, I know we're at sea level, because here in these conditions, this car does feel considerably slower, which would explain why the turbocharged hybrid feels a lot faster. We are at slight elevation here. But I mean, overall, there is still plenty to like about this car, but obviously between the two, if you can swing the extra cost and take advantage of the fuel economy savings, which is 10 to 12 mpg better, go with the hybrid version. Oh yeah. The hybrid is definitely way quicker than the gas model. Just like in the RAV4, you need to go hybrid in this car. It's so much faster. So last year, Hyundai tells us that they managed to sell a little over 123,000 Tucsons here in America, making this model one of the company's best sellers. So it's no surprise to me that Hyundai would invest a lot more time and energy into the all-new 4th generation version. After spending the day here in Tucson, Arizona, driving the new Tucson, I have to say, I am very impressed with what the company has done for this new model. Not only is it a bold new change on the outside, the interior is full of a lot of tech features that a lot of buyers want nowadays, but its larger dimensions also means you're gonna have way more space in the back seat, in the front, in the cargo area. And between the two powertrains that I drove today, the gas model and the hybrid is definitely the one to get if you guys can swing the extra $1,100, which honestly is not that much. You're gonna make that back in fuel savings pretty quickly. This is the one that I think a lot of buyers out there who are looking at a RAV4 hybrid or a CR-V hybrid, you need to do yourself a favor and take a look at this model, because with its standard all-wheel drive, with its turbocharged 1.6 liter engine to its electrified powertrain option, this model here gets me super excited to drive the plug-in hybrid model, which will be coming in June or July, later this summer is what Hyundai tells us. And that's the model that we don't know pricing on yet. We do know that it'll qualify for a $6,500 tax credit from the feds. And in terms of pricing, if you guys are looking to buy one of these today, these are actually in Hyundai showrooms right now as you're watching this video. The base version of this car with front-wheel drive and an SE starts at just under $25,000 plus an $1,100 destination charge. The hybrid version is a little bit more. It's going to start at around $29,050. However, this is based off of an SEL trim. They just call it the hybrid blue, and it comes standard with all-wheel drive. So if you compare it to a gas all-wheel drive SE or SEL, the difference is only about $1,200, so it's a really good deal. Now keep in mind, these are the fully loaded limited models. If you guys want all the tech, you want the bigger 10.25 inch display, you want the pano sunroof, you want the heated and cooled seats, the Bose stereo, you're gonna be spending around $37,000 for this one here, or $39,000 for this one. The color that you see, this beautiful white, is around $325 more. That makes the new Tucson an enticing proposition. Yes, it is more expensive than the previous generation model, but keep in mind, fully loaded versions of the CR-V, the Rogue, the RAV4 can easily touch or go over $40,000. So really the new Tucson is right hitting the sweet spot for a lot of American buyers. So if you guys are looking for a new family crossover, a compact one, you need to be sure to put this one at the top of your list. And I have no doubt that Hyundai should be able to easily surpass the 120,000 units that they sold last year. Not entirely sure if it's going to overtake the RAV4, which consistently does over 400,000, but it's going to come pretty damn close. And really, it makes everyone take notice because Hyundai and Kia are doing some pretty amazing things with their current crop of products. Well, with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview of the 2022 Hyundai Tucson. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.